Today I'm going to show you how to create this rough rock carving effect in Blender. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to add a little shape that I want to carve with. I'll make a cube. I'll make a rough weird looking shape out of it. I'll scale it up like this along the Y. I'll add a couple of loop cuts like that. Then I'll add a couple more like this. Now what I want to do is I want to create a weird shape so our carving looks as rough as possible. So I'll select all these, scale them down, scale these top ones down as well, like that, and I'll scale these four up, so as weird as it can be. So now we have this, and the second thing now we want to do is we want to create like a symbol or a shape. You can have a logo, you can import anything and then trace it. So first you want to do, I'll add a plane like that. I'll delete the two vertices on the top like that, and with these I'll just create a shape by extrude. I'll make a C like that. That's a weird looking C, but it'll work for now. I'll move it back. Now we have this cube and this C. I'll scale my cube down a little bit. I'll go into the constraints, add a follow path constraint like that. I'll give it a target object of that C we created. Actually, first we need to convert this C into a curve. Now I'll give it the target object of this path. Now if you look at the offset, it doesn't do anything, and the influence doesn't do anything either. So first I think we need to fix position like that. Then we need to animate path. Now it should animate along our path like that, but it's not animating the way we want it to. I want it to carve with this face on the plane. I'll rotate it just normally like 90, and I'll move it away a little bit so we can put a plane over here. Let me just play that back once more. Yep. So I'll just animate it. uh, I'll put a keyframe on 1 and then put a keyframe on 40. Let me see the animation. Hold on. I'll put it down to 0, the offset factor, then I'll put the keyframe. Yep. So that should work. Yep, that works. So now what I'm going to do is, in the middle I'm going to add a plane like this. I'll rotate it, scale it up like that, and this is where I want my carving to occur like that. I'll scale my plane up a little bit more. So the carving is happening uh, around this area basically. So what we want to do is we want to go to edit mode of our plane. Need to add a loop cuts like that. Again, let me just check. Yep, that should be enough. So what I'll do here now that I've added a loop cut, I'll select this face and I'll subdivide it a bunch of times, as much as my computer can handle. Now what I'll do is I'll change this plane. I'll go to the physics properties, go to dynamic paint, and make it a canvas, and then add a canvas. And this will be the surface type will be displace, since you want the carving to occur, and we'll give it a substeps of like 20. The more substeps you give it, the better quality you will have. And we'll make this cube that we created a brush. We'll go to dynamic paint, we'll convert it into a brush like that. It's simple. Let's see what happens now. You see there is a weird kind of carving effect happening, but this is not the result we want. First of all, what we'll do is uh, I'll give this cube of mine, I'll go to the object properties, and we want to give it like a little bit of noise to work with. So what we'll do is We'll give it a random keyframe over here on the z-axis. Go to the graph editor, select our z-axis that we've given the keyframe to, like this, z location. Go to modifier and add a noise modifier. What it'll do is it'll make sure our cube is going inside and outside the wall to create a more rough sort of effect, you see. And you can play along with play around with this, the scale and strength to get the results that you want. But now what I'll do is I'll go back to my timeline. I'll find a rock. I'll find a rock asset from the Blender Kit add-on. Yep. Find this small rock. And what I'll do with this rock is I'll select my cube. I'll go to the particle settings, add a new particle system, and go to render. Give it the render as object, and then I'll tell it to emit rocks. So now basically our this guy is emitting rocks, but it's not they're too small, so we'll scale them up like that, and we'll randomize the scaling. And now as you can see, the rocks are falling down. We can give it rotation and randomize the rotation as well to give it a more natural look. You can obviously scale them down, scale them up, however you like them. So now what I'll do is I'll go back to my canvas. I think everything is good here. What we need to do is bake it to get to see what kind of results we're getting. Yep, that is what we're getting. This is what our carving will look like, kind of. And obviously you can go back to your thing. You can change the shape to however you like, and you can play around with the noise animation, the noise modifier, to get the results that you want. So there's this, scale this up. So now the results may be a little bit weirder, but that's what we want, right? So I'll delete the bake, I'll rebake it. Let's see what happens. Yep. So it's a little bit more rough, and you can play around with the shape of this object that you created, and the rocks, and everything else. And I'll give this guy a material, like a rocky material, like that. Now I'll go to the shading viewport. That's too much. I'll just I don't need the normal and roughness or displacement for this example. I'm just gonna do the base color, and I'll go here, A, and UV unwrap it like so. Looks bad, but we can go to the UV editing and we can scale it up or down depending on what we like. I'll scale it up a little bit like that. So now we have this kind of rough rock carving effect, and obviously you can select the cube and you can turn it off in render. So now what you'll do is when you render your scene, I'll go to the render settings. I'll go to cycles. I'll change to GPU. I'll add a sun over here, and I'll rotate it like that. And that's how it's going to look in your render. Let me just show you an example. Did I bake it? I think I did. I did bake it. So I've turned the cube off in the render view. Now if I press F12, I think I also need to bake the particle systems before I do anything. Go to the cache. I'll bake these as well. Now let's see how it looks. That looks better to me. You can increase or decrease the number of your rocks, and their scale and everything else. So now I'll just render one frame just to show you guys. I'll decrease the sample to 50, sorry. Oh, I need to add a camera as well. Add a camera like so. To view, camera to view, to camera, and let's see how it looks in the render. Our rocks are not rendering for some reason because I turned it off. That should not be happening. Actually, if your rocks are not showing up, there is another trick you can do. You can give this guy that we have a new material and just turn the alpha to 0. That's it. Now if you render, it should render fine. Yep, it will give you this rock carving effect. Obviously it can look better if you work a little bit longer on it, but this was just an example. The tutorial I myself watched to learn it was this one by Tutor for You, but his rock carving is very smooth like this. So I wanted to show you
Let's
the
start by creating a new
noise texture trick and whatnot to show you how it the noise animation on the z-axis to make it more rough and slightly more realistic. This one is not realistic, but it can be if you spend more time on it. So that's about it. Thank you.